many people have speculated, perhaps, and again, he says he's innocent. He hasn't done anything wrong. The fact that there could be some Republican donors that he may be wanting to protect, we don't know, but we are at the stage, or heading toward the stage, Hugo, of let the chips fall where they may. And this is going to burn people on both sides of the political divide in America, if in fact all of this information gets out into the public domain.
Now, after growing disquiet among his MAGA base, most notably the right-wing firebrand Marjorie Taylor Greene, Donald Trump is now calling on Republicans in the House to vote to release the Epstein Files. Writing on Truth Social yesterday, the US president insisted he had nothing to hide from the release of the documents. The House is expected to hold a vote this week on legislation which would force the Justice Department to release the files to the public. Here to give us the latest on that is the former ABC News correspondent Tom Rivers. Hello, Tom.
Afternoon, Hugo. Yeah, real hot potato. This thing has bounced around, as you well know, for many, many months. And it looks like maybe, just maybe, we might get some movement in the coming days in the form of a discharge petition on the floor of the House. If it passes, if in fact that is the case, it will go to the Senate. And then President Trump would have to sign off on the release as well. There are some interesting caveats, though, that an investigation has been launched by the DOJ as we speak into prominent Democrats such as former President Clinton, Treasury Secretary Summer, also some donors, high-level donors as well. Will that information, because that is part of an investigation right now, be released? We don't know if we follow that down the line. But yes, a real change, I guess. The story changes by the day, and keep watching it this week. We'll see if we get some motion, because the American public, Democrats and Republicans, want to see what is out there, what information, and we have literally tens of thousands of correspondence, emails, etc., that they could go through, release, and get that information out to the public.
Tom, so look, Donald Trump, he's sort of moved around on this. He used to be all in favour of all these files being released. Then he seemed to sort of go cold on that. Now he seems to be warm on it again. How can we explain his own shifting position? We
don't know. Many people have speculated, perhaps. And again, he says he's innocent. He hasn't done anything wrong. The fact that there could be some Republican donors that he may be wanting to protect, we don't know. But we are at the stage, or heading toward the stage, Hugo, of let the chips fall where they may. And this is going to burn people on both sides of the political divide in America, if in fact all of this information gets out into the public domain.
Should we read into this sort of supreme confidence from Donald Trump himself that he himself is not going to feature damagingly in these files?
It's interesting. Last week, and of course this got a lot of headlines, the House Oversight Committee was looking and released something like the neighborhood of 20,000 emails, of which 3 the Democrats chose, and I guess the most prominent one was a email between Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell back in 2011, in which basically it was alleged that Trump had spent a couple of hours with a name redacted, an alleged victim at the home of Epstein. Well, it turns out that there was an unredacted version of that was out in the public domain earlier. Who was the alleged victim? It was Virginia Giuffre. And of course, she, in her book, Nobody's Girl, said basically that there was nothing untoward between Trump and her. So it was kind of a red herring. And Tim Burchett, the Republican on that committee from Eastern Tennessee, said, look, this cherry picking is just is done to create, in his words, a false narrative. Let's get everything out there. He immediately requested a unanimous consent vote in the House, and that was shut down by the Democrats. So yes, we've had roadblocks from the Republicans and the Democrats at various stages of this over the past few months.
And look, finally, Tom, how important is this to Donald Trump? Because one gets the sense, certainly from over here, that this is one of the few things that he seems in danger of losing sort of support from his base in a really significant way about if he handles this wrong.
Well, exactly. And if, in fact, and some people say, he's kind of played a coy game with the Democrats, knowing that there's some pretty bad information out there that could affect both sides. But if he's in the quote-unquote clear, by at least stringing it out and now saying, okay, let's get everything out there. There are some very, very nervous individuals out there in America and elsewhere around the world. You can be sure of that right now, and watching the developments literally by the day, by the hour.
Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed. That is the former ABC News correspondent, Tom Rivers. Great to speak to you, Tom.
US President Donald Trump on Sunday urged Republicans in Congress to vote for the release of files related to Jeffrey Epstein. This Truth Social post marks a reverse on Trump's stance around documents linked to the late convicted sex offender. And it came after House Speaker Mike Johnson said he believed releasing the files should help quell allegations Trump had any connection to Epstein's abuse and trafficking of underage girls.
I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island.
Questions around Trump's ties to the disgraced financier have followed him, even on his recent trip to the UK. Although the pair were photographed together decades ago, the president said the two men fell out before Epstein's convictions. Emails released last week by a House committee showed Epstein believed Trump, quote, knew about the girls. However, it was not clear what that phrase meant. Trump has since instructed the Department of Justice to investigate prominent Democrats' ties to Epstein. And the battle over these files' disclosure, a subject Trump himself campaigned on, has opened a rift with some of his allies in Congress. Trump late on Friday withdrew support for US Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene after her criticism of fellow Republicans on issues including the handling of the Epstein files. Democratic Representative Ro Khanna said on Sunday that he expects more than 40 Republicans to vote in favor.
I haven't even thought about it. I mean, I haven't thought about it for months. Maybe I haven't thought about it at all. You're just asking me a question. But I don't talk about that. I don't rule it in or out. I don't even think about it.
Just wondering if you have a timeline.
Very few.
Timeline for when you might release more of those files.
Which ones?
Democrats to Epstein. Speaker Johnson purposefully obstructed my swearing in by canceling vote after vote. And the Epstein Files discharge petition sat one signature short. With my signing, we move one step closer to the truth that they will try to deny, but that survivors deserve their day of justice, and the American people demand it. My swearing in was delayed by 50 days, the longest in modern history. And let's understand very clearly that if I were a Republican, I would not have waited this long. If I were a man, I would not have waited this long. We all know that the rules are always different for women of color and people of color. And we have to fight against that.